Hey everybody, it's your Sam again. I am here with another video, and today I want to talk about description. So as I have been editing I'm No Hero and compiling it into a single document instead of several, I have been slowly adding descriptors to my scenes and editing some descriptions to my scenes. Every now and then I go prosy and I info dump a little bit, especially when I'm handwriting. So here are some tips and tricks I have on writing description. Tip number 1, avoid info dumping. So what is info dumping? Info dumping is when you have a page, a paragraph, a full-on sentence that does nothing but describe something or someone. That to me is info dumping. You don't really want to do this because it pulls your reader out of the story and it gets a little boring, especially if it goes on for a page or pages. Now, yes, there are some readers that love description, but there are others that don't. So finding a happy medium or knowing what kind of audience you want to reach is key here. If your audience loves info dumping, aka maybe a Tolkien fan or something like that, and I'm talking about the books, not the movies, just so you know, because Tolkien does wax poetic about his descriptions and they can last for pages, then yes, you can do some info dumping and it be okay. But if you're going for like a audience that is maybe younger or maybe doesn't like long passages of prose or long descriptions, they want the action, they want the story to move, then you might want to take your information that you want to share with the reader and just sprinkle it all throughout your book. I will give you some tips on how to do this. Make your descriptions an active part of the story. Blend it in. Sprinkle it throughout. An example of this would be, instead of taking a paragraph whenever a character enters a new scene or a new place and describing it, you do something like, it was easy for Issa to find the building. It was the only purple one in the city full of mirrored skyscrapers and marble facades. You get the picture. You get the picture of the whole town or the whole city in that one single sentence, and it's not overbearing. It's not info dumping. And then you can move on. You can say that Issa enters the building and she finds her mark, or she finds the person that she was looking for, or the book she was looking for, or something like that. Another thing that you can do is when you're trying to describe your character, and maybe it's the first time that your point of view character is meeting this person, don't dump everything off in one sentence. Like, he walked up and he was wearing blah 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 blah, his eyes were blah 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 blah, his hair was da 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 da, and no, just don't do that. You can go with, as she was stuffing her face by the by the buffet table, she noticed a set of slender fingers picking up a goblet at her elbow. And you can go on from that. Maybe she turns to look at him and meets his green eyes and they start a conversation. That's not really info dumping. You do get 2 points of interest in description of that particular character that your point of view character is just meeting. And then you can sprinkle the rest throughout that page or throughout that chapter. Another thing you can do is describe what your characters will notice. In the previous sentence or the previous example that I pointed out, that particular character would probably notice if something was grabbed from inside her bubble. Know your characters and know what they would notice. Kind of use their voice, their standpoint, as a key to describing the area, the person, something like that. If your character, for instance, is someone that's a little skittish, is someone that has some anxiety, they're probably not going to notice somebody else's eyes, because somebody that's a little skittish or has a little bit of anxiety or depression usually does not meet people's eyes that often. We're like wolves. Meeting people's eyes is a threat. But if you have a character that goes to this area every single day, they probably won't really notice people there. They might notice something huge that's changed. You know, something that is a shock of pink when everything else around it is usually like concrete or something like that. They might notice those things like that. Just know your character and know what they will notice, and use your descriptions, or use that to fill your descriptions in. Another thing to do is use all of these senses. A lot of writers, I tend to notice, use the sense of sight a lot. And that's great, because that's sometimes what most of us notice more quickly and more often. But there are other senses. There's smell, hearing, touch, taste. Now, don't have your character go around licking everything, but I mean, certain smells have certain tastes to them. You can almost taste the smell of biscuits. Taste and smell are kind of tied together, so you can use that. Also, smell is very heavily tied to memory. So if you need to insert a flashback somewhere, then you can have a smell that kind of reminds them of something in that flashback. Use all the senses. That's another good way to describe without having some info dumping going on. You can use a couple of sentences to describe the smell of an area and how it makes the character feel, or something like that. Another thing is knowing your world. Do some world building. Don't be scared of world building, because it creates the foundation of your story that you can build on. And knowing your world allows you to know how to kind of sprinkle it in. If your character is walking through a house and you know that house, you have a blueprint of that house or something like that that you've made in Incarnate, or you've drawn up or something like that, then you know that they're going to pass a door to the right, and maybe they see another character in that doorway crying or something like that. You can sprinkle in a little bit of descriptions as they're going through that way, if you know your world. If you don't, then you run the opposite effect of having white room syndrome, and you don't want that either. So you want a good balance between heavy description and no description at all. You want to find that perfect balance, and you want to find that balance for your reader, so that your reader will not be pulled out of your story and into confusing whatever. Those are a couple of tips that I have on writing description. There are a ton more, I know, but those are things that I've been actively using, that I actively do. So hopefully that'll help you out. There are tons of books and classes and other writers out there that have shared their tips on writing description. One of those is going to be The Anatomy of Prose by Sasha Black. I highly recommend that book. She is amazing, and it improves your writing greatly to read that book. She gives you some exercises to do and some tips and tricks, and there's a lot of examples in that book to help you scatter some description throughout your work, how to word things that makes your writing easier to understand and just enjoyable to your reader. That's all I got for you today. If you like videos like this, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I post videos every Sunday and Thursday. I do live streams every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we get productive in sprints and talk a little bit in between them. And we also do some writing sprints on Tuesdays. We switch between Lauren, Nicole, and I's channel every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My videos are usually on writerly content and how to deal with depression and anxiety and just the world as a creative. And as always, be kind to one another. Remember to smile about something today and keep writing and keep being creative. I'll catch you next time.